Okay, so we've got our headline and introduction. There's a couple of things I want to do here. These blue boxes that you see around the copy, they're called frame edges. Now, I don't really like working with them. I just find them a little bit distracting when I come to laying out my artwork. So I'm just going to get rid of those. I'm going to go to View, Extras, and just select Hide Frame Edges. So click on that, and that just frees up that space. It takes away those frame edges. You will see the frame edges when you select the text boxes and different objects on the page, but I just like to have them removed when I'm not working with a particular block of text. Okay, so we've got those removed. Now, if you notice in our layout, these are just some of the details that you need to be aware of. So the space between the 9 and the 2 and the 2 and the 5 is slightly less than we've got on our layout. So we're going to look at kerning to reduce that space, and there's a couple of ways to do it. The first way is just to put your cursor between the two, or between the space that you want kerned or reduced. And if you go to your character panel just up here, you've got this icon here that it's got the A and the V with the two arrows between it, just indicating that this is the way to reduce or increase space. Now you can use just the up and down arrows, so we want to reduce that. So you just click on that to reduce it, or you can use this drop down menu that gives you increments of 5 and 10 depending on how much you want reduced. So let's give it about a -100 space. The other way to do it is to, again, put your cursor between the two letters that you want reduced or increased, and if you press the Option key and then the arrows on your keyboard, you can reduce or increase the space. Yep, and that looks a little bit better. It just makes your layout a lot more refined and a lot more considered. So always play around with the kerning when you've got your basic text on the page. The other detail that I've noticed is the author's name, Susie Forbes. So her name is underlined. It has an underline there. So all we need to do to achieve that is just select the place you want underlined. So it's just Susie Forbes. And again, if you go to your character panel and you just click on the menu in the top right hand corner, there's some different options there. So we just want to choose underline. So just click that, and that gives us a nice little underline. So just be aware of all the details on the type, and just try and bring those across to your layout. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at creating are the 3 columns of text here. So as I mentioned in Monday's class, there's a couple of different ways of creating these text columns. The first way, if you've got even heights on your columns, you can simply draw one text box. So you've got one text box here, and then if we go up to the top, I'm not sure if you can quite see that there. Let's just bring this down a bit. Okay, I've just pull those menus down a little bit. So you select your text box, and in the top panel at the top of your page, you will have this icon, and it literally looks like a little sort of column icon, and at the moment that says number 1, and we just want to increase that to 3, and that's going to give us 3 columns in this text box. So you can't really see that right now, so let's just go back up to View, Extras, and Show Frame Edges. So when you've got the frame edges selected, you can actually see those columns. You can see the gutters are slightly narrower. So we've got 6mm gutters, and then in that little panel or that little box below, you can just increase that to 6. So now we have a 3-column text box. But because our columns are different heights, it's going to be difficult to manipulate that and put the text in there. So I'm just going to use 3 separate columns to create that. So let's just create our first column. Let's bring that down to the margin, and I'm going to go to our dummy copy website. So this is lipsum.com, and here you can cut and paste just some of the dummy copy. There's a few paragraphs here. The other way to do it, there's a really handy tool at the top that you can generate as many paragraphs of dummy type. So I'm just going to go for 8 paragraphs, generate lorem ipsum, and that's just given me a nice clean block of dummy text that I can then I can cut and paste. So Command C, choose the type tool, highlight the text box, and I'm just going to paste that inside. So that's given me 1 block of text. I'm just going to create now the other 2. So choosing the type tool, click and drag to create that text box, and the third one over here. So how do we then link this text over to here? So that's quite simple. If you highlight the first text box, you notice that there's a little red square at the bottom of the text box, and that just means that little red square just means that you've got text that goes beyond the boundaries of the text box. So we're just going to click once on that little red square, and then it'll show you a like a little icon of text, but when you put that over a text box, it shows you a linked icon. So that means you're now going to link this text to this text box. So if you just click in that text box, it then just fills up that text box, and again with that third one. So just 1 click on that little red square, and we get the same indication that there's text that's going to be placed, and we're just going to drop that into that text box. Okay, so now we have our 3 rough columns of text. Let's just go back to our layout. So the text looks a little bit smaller on the layout. I've noticed too that the text is justified. So each line of text stretches from one side to the other of the text box. So that's called justified text. So let's just go and select all this text. So the text tool, click inside the text, Command A, or you can go to always select all. Here it is, it's under Edit, then select all. And we're just going to make that text slightly smaller. So default is 12. So just going to bring that down to maybe 10 points. Just bring up your paragraph panel, and you've got all these different ways of aligning your text. You can have it centralized, you can have it, the default one is aligned left, there's aligned right, but we want to use this one, which is it's justified. So click off that, and that's looking pretty close. So we've got a 10-point type with a 12-point leading. And that's quite standard to have about 2 extra points of leading, depending on what your type size is. Okay, so I've noticed in this text there's no spaces between the paragraphs. So what we can do here is just delete those spaces that are within those paragraphs, or at the beginning of those paragraphs. There we go. I've done a measurement of these smaller text boxes, and they're about 6 centimeters high. So they're almost square, so because they're 6 centimeters wide and they're 6 centimeters high. So we can adjust those. So we just click on that text box. You can either move the text boxes up and down manually like this. The other way of doing it, if you go to your top panel, that'll give you a width and height of your text box. So it's just over 60 millimeters. So, and we just want to make the height 60 millimeters. And then we just drag that down to the margin, and then the same with this one. So the width is 60.33. We just want to make that 60 millimeters. So if we zoom out, I'm just going to hide the frame edges again. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Let's just double check our layout. That one's probably just a little bit higher. Alright, so we've got a heading, we've got the intro, and we've got the 3 nice columns of text all laid out. And you can view your layouts without the columns as well. So you can either press Command colon, or you can go to View, Grids and Guides, Show Guides. So both of those ways you can show or hide the guides. Okay, so that's looking quite good. Okay, so I've just noticed that these 2 columns of text, the baseline of the copy does not line up with that first column. So we just need to make a slight adjustment to these 2 text boxes. So what we're going to do is highlight both of those, and we're going to go to the Object Control Panel, and we're going to click on this menu item here, which is Text Frame Options. The other way to do that is to highlight the text frames, press Control and click, and you also get to Text Frame Options here. So Text Frame Options, and there we have what's called a vertical justification, and that is where the text is aligned vertically within the text box. So at the moment it's aligned with the top, but we just want to select the bottom. So we want to align the text on the bottom, and that's just going to bring the text down to the bottom. So now we have 3 nice columns of text that are all aligned nicely along the bottom.